Hello everyone, this video is an instruction manual talking you through the assignment that's been set online step by step. You can pause this video anytime, rewind at any time if you get stuck, and it will help guide you through this task. What is this task? Today we are remaking Shut Up by Stormzy. Don't worry if you don't have any instruments at home, we're only going to use our mouse and computer keyboards so everybody can access this as long as you have internet access. So I want you to follow me through all of these steps and let's get this task done. So the first thing I want everybody to do is open up Google Chrome as their internet browser. It has to be Google Chrome. The logo looks like this, not Safari, not Internet Explorer, has to be Google Chrome. If you don't have it, you can download it for free online. Just search download Google Chrome. Once you're on Google Chrome, it may ask you to sign in. If it does, you can just use your school email address and your school password. So now that we're in Google Chrome, we're going to search for this website. It's EDU Bandlab. So it looks just like that, EDU Bandlab, and it will be the top link that comes up. So I want you to click on that top link and it will take you to a page that looks like this. So on this page you need to click Start as a Student if this is your first time, and it may ask you for a code which will be given to you by your teacher online on Google Classroom or by email. If you have done this before, you can just click Log In. So once you're on this sign-in page, use your school email address, make sure it's at tqacademy.co.uk and not at gmail.com, and then it should take you through to the next page, or you can click on this Google icon, but it will still ask you for your email and password. So on your next screen, you want to click Join Class, and once again, it will ask you for a code if this is your first time. If not, you will already see your classes here. As you can see, I have Year 7 and Year 8. So once you're in your class, you need to click on the big green Start Assignment button, and then click Teacher's Assignment once and wait for it to open. And your screen will look like this. The first thing you need to click on is Instruments, which is this square on the left hand side, and it will create you one track up here. So now we're in our mix editor window and we're ready to put our instruments and sounds in, but before we do that, as per usual, we need to change this magical little box up here, the tempo. Today's tempo, we need to change this from 120 up to 148, like that. So the first instrument we are going to use, I want you to come over to here on the left hand side, just next to instrument. It's going to have a little piano picture. Click on that and then you'll see these menus down here in the bottom left. Click on the top one, the piano, and we're going to change this to drum pads, not kits, we want drum pads. And then on the second menu, this is where you can pick your sounds, and as usual you can play the sound that you want to choose. I am going to choose 909 kit, and then I'm just going to change this so that I remember what it is. We're going to put our kick and snare. So now that I've changed that, I'm going to double click on this grey area for the red box to appear, and then just move your red box to the start of the song. So now we can start clicking our notes into the bottom half of the screen. If you don't see this at the bottom half, just double click your red box and this will appear. I want you to make sure before you start clicking the notes in that your numbers at the top of this half of the screen say 1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 2, 2.2, and so on and so forth. Sometimes some people are too far zoomed out with these magnifying glasses and it looks like this, and then the speed will be all wrong. So make sure that you can see these decimal point numbers. So now that our numbers are right, we can scroll down to the bottom to find the kick drum and the snare drum. It's going to be this light grey box here for the kick, and we're also going to use this black line here for the clap sound. So you can click in this first note, and then one straight after it, and then a clap straight after that. You're then going to leave a bit of a gap and do the same from bar number 2, 2 kicks and a snare all in a row. You're then going to do the same for bar number 3, 2 kicks, oh wrong note, up to the clap, and then the same for number 4. If you can't see the magnifying glasses, you might have your assignment brief open, which is one of these buttons in the bottom right hand side of the screen. Just click it and it will disappear, and then you can see and zoom out until you can see the number 37. We're now going to loop this drum pattern using the top right hand side circle. Watch the mouse, it will change from a hand to a little arrow. Click and drag that top right circle all the way to number 37, and it should just snap into place when you get there, like that. And that's our first track done. So now we're ready for our next track. So go up to the top left where it says Add Track, click Instruments again on the left hand side, and our new track will be made. We're now going to add our bass line in on this second track, so come over to the left, click on the little piano picture to get this menu up, top menu to change the instrument, and we're going to choose synth bass. Instead of bass, synth bass, which is closer to the bottom than the top. And then the sound on this second menu, I'm going to go for rumble bass, which is near the bottom. Just going to change the name of the track so I remember what it is. Double click on this light grey area again, and then our blue box will appear, and then we're going to drag that to the start of the song. So then double click your blue box and you should see this screen at the bottom. The numbers at the top at the moment say 6, so we can't see the blue box. I'm just going to scroll left, and there we go, we're back to the start, number 1, and we can see our blue box in the bottom half. So you can see with the bass that we've chosen, we've only got between C1 and C3. So our first note is going to be in between C1 and C2. Remember, you can find the notes that you need in your assignment brief on the right hand side. We're currently doing the bass line, or of course you can watch closely in the video and just follow what I click in. So the first note we need for the bass line is a G sharp. You may not have seen these hashtags before after a note. This is what we call a sharp, and that means instead of going down like when we flatten the notes in the last tutorial, a sharp means that we're going to go upwards. So you'd find the white note, G. So starting from C1, we'd go up all the white notes, C, D, E, F, G. So this light grey box here is our G, and then the hashtag means we have to sharpen it, so we're going to move it up 1 to this black note here. Our next note is going to be all the way over here on bar number 2. So you can put your white line here so that it helps you know where to put it, and we're going to need, and the note we need is an F sharp. So the same as before, C, D, E, F. So this white note here is an F, and then move it up 1 because we need to sharpen it to this black note here. The last note we need in our bass line is going to be on bar number 3. So again, you can move your white line if you want to by clicking this blue bar up here. So it's on the number 3, and the note we need is an E, just a normal E. Now we know this note here is an F because we just put one in over here, so it's going to be the white note below it, 2 blocks down. And now I want you to loop this blue box to bar number 13. So using the top right hand side circle, wait for the mouse to change, then click and drag all the way to bar 13 like that, and you should get 3 repetitions of this loop. Now that this is looped to bar 13, I want you to click on this blue box, copy and paste it. So once it's highlighted, hold Command C on a Mac or Control then C on a Windows to copy. Make sure our white line is on number 13, it's in line, and then hit Command V or Control V to paste, and it should appear like this. You can then click and drag this loop all the way to the end of 37, so using the top right hand side circle all the way to 37. But then before we move on, we need to edit something in this box on bar 13. So make sure on the bottom half of the screen you're at number 13, and you should see your 3 notes here. We're now going to add 1 note straight after each of these 3, and they're going to be the same note but higher. So this was a G sharp, and it's in the middle of the 3 black lines. So in the next group of 3 black lines, I'm going to put another one. This one is at the bottom of the group of 3 black lines. So on the next group of 3 black lines, I'm going to put another one. And then this one is just above the group of 2 black lines. So on this group of 2 black lines, we'll click another one. And because we've already looped it, that has now changed all of these all the way to the end. And that is our second track done. So now we're ready to add our third one. So go over to the top left, add track, click instruments again, and we'll get our third track here. Come over to the little piano picture to get this menu to come up, change the top menu. This time we're going to go for synth keys, which is near the bottom. And then the instrument that I picked was sparkle keys, again quite close to the bottom. And then I'm just going to change the name of the track so that I remember what part it is. Same as before, Double click the light grey area for the box to appear. Move it to the start. Make sure your bottom half window is at the start as well so we can click our notes in. For some reason the whole piano is greyed out, but you can hear that it still works. So now we're going to put our chords in, and I want us to put these around C5. This is where we want to be. Remember, if you go to your assignment brief, you can see the chords that we're going to use and the notes that we need. And we're going to read it the same as we did in the blinding lights video. So we're going to read them downwards instead of across. So the first note we need is going to be a D sharp, and that is going to be on beat 1. So we got our C, up to the D, and then we sharpen it up 1. I'm also going to make this note 2 blocks long, just by dragging the end of it. Wait for your mouse to change to the double arrow, and then click and drag it so that it's 2 blocks long. Now every note we click in will be 2 blocks long, so we won't have to do that again. The next note down, underneath the D sharp, is going to be a B. So we can see C5 is here, and the letter before C is a B, like that. And then the final note we need underneath the B is going to be a G sharp, which you can count your way upwards, or you can just look for the group of 3, and it's the black note in the middle of the group of 3. So that's our first chord done. On to the second chord. This is going to be from bar number 2. Again, move your white line if it helps you know where you are. The first note we need, the top one, is a C sharp. So we know where C is, and then we just sharpen it up 1 to that black note there. That's a C sharp. So the next note we need is an A sharp, which is the top black note in the group of 3. And then the final note, F sharp, which is the bottom black note of the group of 3, like this. So if you've done those 2 chords correctly, if you look at this one, you should see 3 spaces in between the top note and the middle note, 2 spaces in between the bottom 2 notes, and then on this chord, 2 spaces in between the top 2 notes, and 3 spaces in between the bottom 2 notes. We've got one more chord to do, and you guessed it, it's going to be from bar 3. Again, you can move your white line to help you, and we're on our third chord here. So the first note we need is a B, which will be the note underneath the C5. The next note we need is a G sharp, which we now know and should be learning that is in the middle of the 3 black notes. And then the final note we need on the bottom of this stack is an E, which is going to be the note above the group of 2 black notes, like this. 2 gaps in between the top 2 and 3 gaps in between the bottom 2. We can now go to the top half of the screen, zoom out so we can see 37, and loop this using the top right hand side circle all the way to the end. Before we move on to our next track, there is one more change I want to do to this. I want to add an effect to this chord track here, and to do that we're going to go into our bottom left hand side, make sure this track is highlighted, you can see that it's grey, click FX Effects, and then open this preset menu. I'm going to add LoFi Lead, which is around here in the middle, and then on the Space Maker box I'm just going to turn this mix dial up to around 15%. I think this is also a good time to change some of our volumes. So on the chord track that we've just made, I want you to move this green bar on the left from 0 down to -10. Around -10. It doesn't have to be exact. Our first track, the kick and snare at the top, I want you to move this to +5.5, or around that area. We're now ready for our fourth track, so go to the top left, click Add Track, click Instruments, and then our fourth track will appear. Double click in the grey area for the box to appear, and then I want you to move this one so that it starts on bar 13. So then go over to the left hand side, click the piano picture, and then on the top menu we're going to change our instrument to another drum pad, not kit. And then this time on the sound menu I'm going to use Boom Bap Classic, and then I'm going to change the title of the track to Hi-Hat / Shaker. Double click your purple box so that you can see the notes at the bottom. I'm just going to move this up so that we can see a bit clearly. And remember, we should be on bar 13 at the start of this. So the first drum we're going to use is actually going to be this one here. If you click on it, it should sound like this. Remember to check your numbers at the top of this bottom half look like mine. If they don't, you may have to zoom in or out to make sure that it does. And then for this drum, we're going to click them in on 2, 13.2, and then do another 2 in a row. So you should see a group of 3 like that. We're then going to do the same on 14.2 and on 15.2 and on 16.2. Now this is where we add something new that we haven't done in any of the tutorials before. I want you to go to the top left hand side of the screen where it says View. Click on View and this menu will appear. You should have Snap to Grid on already, leave that where it is, but we're going to go to Grid Size. And at the moment it might say Smart or it might say one of these, but we need to change it to 1/16. And then you should see at the bottom your squares have changed size. They're now a lot smaller. Now that you've done that, you can go back to the bottom of your screen. We're now going to use this drum here, the hi-hat. And you can actually place these pretty much wherever you want. You can be kind of random with it. If you do want to follow me, I am going to put it on the first one, leave a space, then the second one, and then I'm going to leave a big gap to after these shakers, plus a space, and then do a double one, with a gap in between. You can genuinely have a play about with this and do as many as you want. Try and keep it simple, don't fill them all up because then it might not sound as good, but just try and get random patterns all the way along. I like to put mine in between these gaps just to fill up the space. And then I'm just going to copy and paste this last one. And then click a couple on the end. So yours might look like mine, or you might have done something different. Like I said, you can be pretty random with that, but try not to put too many in and use the spaces that are available. You might not really hear them over the top of these. Have a listen, move stuff around if you want to. You have a bit of freedom with that note there. Now that you've finished your drum loop, you can drag your top right circle all the way to bar 37. Now that's our 4th track done, so we're on the final one next. So add another track, the last one, click instruments again, and it will appear down here. So on this one, click on the piano, change the instrument. We want Synth Leads. And I'm actually going to leave the sound as it is. We're going to use 80s square lead for this. Double click your box and it should appear. Move that to the start of the song. And then for this green box, before we start putting our notes in, I want you to drag the bottom right circle, not the top, the bottom, to number 13. So we've got a nice big area to put our notes in. Just going to change the title of the track. I'm also going to go back up to View and change the grid size back to Smart. So now we're ready to put our notes in. I want you to make sure that we're in between C4 and C5. Make sure you've got your assignment brief open so that you can see the notes that we're going to use. So the first note we need is a G sharp, and we've used that quite a lot today, so we should remember that that is in between the group of 3 black notes. Before we click our next note in, I'm just going to shorten this ever so slightly so that it doesn't touch this white line. Just a little gap, and now every note that we click in will be that size. We then need 3 more G sharps. 2, 3. I'm going to leave a space here, then click one in, and then I'm going to do the next 2 all in a row. Remember, there should be a little gap because we shorten the note so that it doesn't fill up the whole box. Our next 2 notes also go straight after these ones. So F sharp is our next one, which is the black note underneath G sharp. So just down 2 blocks. And then the note after that is D sharp, which is the next black note down. So starting on bar 2, so we're going to leave a space. C sharp, just above C4. D sharp, the black note above it. Another C sharp. all in a row, and then 3 Bs, so that's the white note below the C. I'm going to put 2 in a row, and then I'm going to leave 1 space and put our third B over here. And then our final note of this bar, straight after this B is another D sharp, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 notes up. So now we're on bar 3, the third line down. We need an E, which is 1 space, it's literally just above this D sharp before it. We're then going to leave 1 square and then do 3 G sharps in a row. So in the middle of this group of 3, 1 space, group of 3 in a row, and then again, just like before, the F sharp, 2 squares down straight after, and the D sharp, 3 squares down straight after that. We're now on bar 4, so we're going to leave a space, and we can actually copy and paste bar 3. So if you highlight 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 notes, so just the ones in bar 3, then hold Command C or Control C to copy. Make sure your white line's on the number 4, and then hold Command V or Control V to paste. And we're just going to add an F sharp to the end of this, which is the bottom black note of the group of 3. Should be 2 spaces up from the note before it. For the next part, to save time, I want you to zoom out of this bottom half of the screen so that you can see all of the notes that you've just clicked in. I then want you to highlight all of them. It's easier to highlight from the right hand side because sometimes when you highlight from the left, you move this and it all goes wrong. So if you click and drag from the right hand side over, then you can get all of your notes. Again, we're going to hold Command C or Control C to copy. And then make sure our white line is on bar 5 before we hold Command V or Control V to paste it all. I then want you to move your white line, make sure that it's directly on the number 9, and we're going to paste it one more time. And then it should end just before bar 13. And now we only need to change one more thing before we get to the end of the song, and that is on bar 9. So if you make sure your white line's on bar 9, zoom back in, so the only changes we need to make are between bar 9 and 10, everything else is now correct. You can see in your assignment brief, this little extra bit here where it says bar 9, and then a few different notes. So the first note we need is a G sharp, so that note is already correct. The second note we need is a B, and it's going to be straight after it. So I'm going to move this forward 1 and then up 1, 2, 3 notes. Our next note is another G sharp, but we're going to move it forward so that it's all in a row. And then this note should be an F sharp, so I'm going to move this forward and then down 2. It then says 3 D sharps in a row. So I'm going to move this F sharp down 2 and then over to the left 1. I'm going to leave this gap here in between this D sharp and this D sharp, and then just click one more D sharp in here. So these should all be in a row: G sharp, B, G sharp, F sharp, D sharp, 1 space, and then 2 D sharps, and then bar 10 starts. And that is our riff completed. So again, in the top half, zoom out so that you can see your whole thing, and then use the top right hand side circle to loop it till the end. Before listening to it, we need to adjust the volume on the left hand side of this track. So you can see this green bar is currently on 0. You need to move this down to around -16 as the instrument is quite loud. Now you can have a listen. So that is this project complete. So you can now hit the green submit button in the top right, or if you want to, you can add an extra track and record your own vocals using this red button. Click add track, Click the voice/mic button in the middle, and you'll have a track down here. And then just hit the record button to record your sound. It may come up with a little button in the middle asking if it has permission to use your microphone on your computer. Just click yes, click the record button, and then wrap away. And then of course don't forget to hit submit afterwards so I can hear it.